to Saizon, get your play on.
Yeah,
Saizon,
the little behind the scenes.
Put spice that goes in everything. You know what I'm saying?
The spice and the salt that goes in every.
And you know what I like saying? We're like, oh, welcome to Saizon. I'm like, yeah, baby, but you gotta say Saizon. Feel me? Where that Saizon?
So I used to made fun of that in the office when we first opened, and I would call because I called 250 people for interviews, and every time I left a message, it'd be like, this is Ken from Saizon. And then the people across the office like, Saizon, blah, 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 blah. When we were opening Saizon, we wanted it to feel like, especially as you're at the bar, you want to feel like you're having a cocktail at a sunset dinner underneath a Mexican boardwalk.
And what I find like unique about this place is like, you get, obviously, so like Saizon's like a mix, like they try to say like it's Mexico City meets Napa Valley, right? And then they're infused, and then you get like a little bit of our own Saizon twist on it, right? But what's super cool about it is the fact that it's like, you know, everybody talks about Fresno, and I feel like a big thing about people from Fresno, I feel like they always kind of talk down on Fresno, like, you know, it's just, we're Fresno, but it's just Fresno. And as somebody, so I'm from the Bay Area. So like, as somebody who's from the Bay Area, who's came to Fresno, this place does hold up with the Bay Area. It does hold up with LA, and that's what's so unique about it. You come in, everybody's dressed nice, everybody took a shower, you know what I mean? Everybody has their cologne on, their best clothes on, and that's what this really represents, because it's that infusion of what this city is going to become. They're just trailblazing a new path and kind of setting a new standard and a new tone for like, this is what restaurants need to be, this is how you need to come, and this is what it is. And it's super cool, that's what I like about it.
It's a long way away from when you first started, right? Tell me about that.
When I first started, dude, oh my God, I was literally, the first bar I ever worked at was at a place called Raffles. We called it Wrinkles because the only clientele there was national sales conference style people. It was attached to a conference center in San Antonio. And the only people that went there were like 45 plus singles. So you went there on a Friday night and it was Hawaiian shirt, khaki pants, white sock and sandals guys.
Oh my God.
With like flower shirt, older like librarians and secretaries, and just like forcing them together on this dance floor. So it was Raffles, we called it Wrinkles.
Yeah. Wow.
And, but that was a solid awakening to the bar industry. You want fine dining, you want to eat amazing food, you want to have amazing drinks, but the number one thing that people come in and come in for all the time is the way we remember people and the way we provide service. And the emotional intelligence when we're hiring and training staff are the things that that let us provide that to every guest that walks in the door. Because that's what they came here for. If they were hungry, they could have ordered DoorDash.
Sure.
Especially in today's day and age, you can get anything you want at your fingertips. But I think it's telling that people are still in the doors. The fact that after the pandemic, people wanted to come back. People wanted to come back out to eat. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why restaurants have been around since as long as time can be considered.
And I think the biggest thing too is like in life, like I'm big on like energy, right? And you know, you talk about good vibes and stuff like that. Like when the energy's right, everything flows. When you get in that state of flow, and it's just kind of like one of those things, we met, the vibe was right, there was mutual respect between us. We came in, he kind of introduced what this place was, the concept, the vibe, the clientele, how we wanted to, basically his vision for the bar and how he wanted to drive it, right? And I said, hey, I think I'm your guy. And just from there, we just got behind there, and it was just like clockwork. We just started knocking it out, boom, 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 boom. And it was cool.
Well, actually, first bartending job I ever had was catering for a company in San Antonio. I was supposed to be, it was 18, the guy he only hired athletes and fraternity members at the small college I went to. And I was a swimmer, so I had some connection with him. He hired me, I needed money my freshman year for student loans. And we have 7 different bars set up, all satellite, just making one-on-ones, you know, like just vodka sodas, all that kind of crap. But the bartender that I was supposed to be bar backing for got there, set his bar up, and immediately started throwing up because he was too hungover to work. Wow. And so the owner of the company, I'm 18 years old, just looks at me and was like, you can bartend, right? I was like, yeah. Oh, I know how to do this for sure. Yeah, I got this. And that was like, literally I did it that night, and that was, and everything else was history.
Speaking of evolution and creativity, as I understand, you yourself are a bit of a maestro when it comes to cocktails.
I am a bit. I would never claim to have the greatest palate in the world. I started bartending at beer joints in Oklahoma in oil-filled towns as a side gig when I was roughnecking, you know, out of college, just looking for a regular job.
We've all been there.
Yeah, driving semi-trucks and working as a derrick hand on an oil rig. But I always go back to that same Cheers analogy. I love being the host of the party. Sasha Petrosky is probably my bartending inspiration. He started a bar called Milk and Honey in New York City, which is one of the first real cocktail revolution bars we had in the late 90s. Unfortunately, he passed really early. But he wrote a book called Regarding Cocktails, and his idea for a bartender was we play the hosts of the party. You learned quickly to ask me for the 3 quick salient points to sell it to someone, as opposed to my History Channel YouTube rambling on it.
But I love that because then I'm able to like synthesize like all that information and be like, okay, all right, she probably doesn't know what this, and this mean, but I'm gonna just say this. All right, cool. So like we came out with this he came out with this new drink, right? It's called, we have a milk punch and there's like a spin on it, and it's called the Otra, right? And I'm like, all right, give me like 3 selling points. I just need to sell it to this chick. Why is it different? And he was like, okay, vanilla, grapefruit, citrus, boom. I said, hey, look, check this out, mama. You got vanilla, grapefruit, citrus, and it's the same content, alcohol content that the milk punch has. She said, okay, I'll try it. Easy peasy.
Service is absolutely key. There's a reason it's the hospitality or service industry. One of the things we saw during COVID that highlighted to people was that the hospitality industry employed, and I might be wrong on my exact percentage, but about 58% of Americans were employed in some way related to the hospitality industry. And so that's why we saw that massive hit to the country whenever we had to stop that for a little bit.
During COVID, this is right?
Yeah, during COVID. And I think the fact that it's recovered so much highlights even more what I was saying earlier, but people want to come out. People want to have an experience out for the evening. They want to be taken care of. And that's what I think every staff member, from busser to line cook to even our dishwashers, really emphasize, is that we want to make this the best experience anyone could have on any given night.
Yeah. So you have some cocktails in store for us tonight?
I do, yeah. I've got a couple of our new ones on the menu that we've just put on the menu, and a couple of our favorites that have become very clear staples for the things that we provide here. I'm really excited to share them. So I've got a couple cocktails wanted to make today. One is one that I've been making recently. It's called In Watermelon Sugar. Okay. Everyone knows the Harry Styles song that has been around right now and so popular. One of the things I always like to point out, because bartenders love to be nerds of knowledge and things like that, is that he was in a green room somewhere, and there was the Richard Brodigan book called In Watermelon Sugar. And Richard Brodigan was a 60s, 70s beatnik, kind of absurdist writer. Think like Albert Proust of the 60s and 70s. And he wrote this book called In Watermelon Sugar. And it's, strangely enough, it's about death and being in a utopian society after death. 20 years before Steve Jobs came out with iPhone, I this, I that. Brodigan was calling it I Death, and it was about how in Watermelon Sugar you spent every day like it was your last, and every day the world was a different color. Right. So you had to experience new things and different things every day.
New ideology.
Yeah, every single day. And I know that, a bunch of people are coming out with drinks right now, and we like to name drinks after popular songs and all that kind of stuff, but that was one of those bits that made me have way more respect for Harry Styles, that he came out and said that whatever the song was about, he named it after being in a green room and seeing that drink called In Watermelon Sugar.
It's really good. You feel like you're on a beach in Hawaii.
Yeah, you wanna have that cocktail, and I want you to be more excited about the heat and everything outside. It should you should be having slices of watermelon sitting outside after hanging out at the pool all day.
It just takes you to a tropical place.
That's about 90% of my waking hours in my brain, is thinking about new ways that I can do new cocktails to present to people, and we're gonna continue to chase that here. Our flagship cocktail at Saizon has been the Margarita Saison since day one when we opened. Okay. Something that we came up with very early on when we were coming up with our cocktail list. So we've got this blue cocktail, and one of the things I love is taking back liqueurs and things that were considered Applebee's chili style crappy drinks that were in the late 90s and early 2000s. You got a drink that was blue and you assumed it was sweet and gross and manufactured and things like that, because that's not natural, but we want to reinvent that. Yeah. So this is just a different riff on the classic margarita. So we like to use an agave blend to really get the backbone. So we use a little bit of tequila, a little bit of a different agave spirit called Raicilla that most people in this country aren't familiar with, and a little bit of mezcal. So equal portions of those throughout. Mezcal gives a little bit of smokiness, the tequila you get a little bit of sweetness, and then the Raicilla blend, you get a little bit of that minerality, the backbone that comes from wild agave spirits. It might seem simple, but one of the things that we've done here that we like is just different colored salts for different cocktails. Darren, you'll appreciate this, is that all of the salt that I use for all of the cocktails of different colors are all Hawaiian black and red salts.
Fantastic.
Come from a company called Vivia Doria.
Okay. So you have a little bit of aloha in all your drinks, mate.
A little bit of aloha, and it could be a hello or a goodbye, depending upon how many of these margaritas that you've had throughout the night. And so that's been our absolute flagship cocktail. When you see us on Instagram, people are posting that, people are having a sip of that, people are drinking that.
Saison margarita.
Saison margarita. You know, one of the things I pride myself on is being, every time we get to do some things for the bar program and being the #1 account for something. Like we were we're the #1 account for a certain Prosecco, and we beat out LA, which sells all the Rosé and Prosecco in the world. They do insane business on that. But when we can beat that out and we can provide people that experience to just have an outlet, that's what we want to be the benchmark for that.
Okay, and this drink is called the Saizon Old Fashioned?
This is our Saison version of an old fashioned. I make my own house whiskey blend, blending a bunch of different whiskeys that I find to find the flavor profile as they go. Yeah. We here at Saizon do it a little bit different. It's just adding a little bit of depth of flavors to it. If we were gonna put it on a menu and try and attach a name to it, I always call it the Smokin' Berries. In all of our cocktails, everything we do, we add a little bit of saline, a little bit of salt water, because salt makes flavors pop, and we want all those flavors to pop. So whether it's an old fashioned to a margarita, anything like that, everything gets a little bit of salt. Sasha Petrosky, like we read outside, has a famous quote saying, if you don't put an orange peel in your old fashioned, you did not make an old fashioned.
Right.
So we always want that pith and those oils that come from something like an orange, not just as a garnish. It shouldn't be something that you just get on your cocktail. It should be something that you sip on and enjoy at the same time.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have that in there. The old fashioned is the king of the cocktail revolution that started us out 20 years ago and is never gonna go anywhere. This will be a cocktail that they made in New Orleans 150 years ago with Pashaz and Sazerac making the first ones, and one that'll probably never leave every menu ever. So That's our Saison version of an old fashioned.
Saison Old Fashioned. You can definitely smell that orange peel.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of brightness as you go into it, and you drink with the nasal capacity first.
That really hits you.
Yeah, as the
That's
old
right.
Kansas farmers say when they drink their homemade whiskey, it's smooth.
Yeah. Suddenly my long day feels good.
A little bit better?
Feels a lot bit better.
Good to see. Well,
That's
everyone,
great, mate.
share that around and enjoy that. Those are some of the cocktails that we make and kind of some of the commitments that we make to, we bartend with intention, make everything with intention from the kitchen to out here. If we're gonna put something in a cocktail, it's in there for a reason. Not just because that's the recipe that we looked up on Google and we can replicate that. It's all about giving guests the best iteration of any cocktail that we wanna make at any time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So there we have it. We're here at Saizon, another episode of Flipping Fresno. And from me to all my friends at Saizon, cheers.